Enough Texas, Wisconsin.
Ron
Johnson, senator from Wisconsin, one of the real Tea Party freshmen here in Congress, and we welcome you to Top Line.
Well, guys, thanks for having me on.
So you've said rather bluntly that you are concerned that we are headed towards a double-dip recession. Tell me, what can we do to avert that?
Well, first of all, what I said is President Obama a couple of days ago said he wasn't worried about it.
Yeah.
And I said, I am worried about it.
Yeah.
I think the American people are worried about it. What can we do? It is absolutely critical that we get serious about addressing our spending and debt issue in this country. I mean, we have to get serious. And the point I was making is, I'm a business guy. I've spent 31 years as a manufacturer. And if I compare to what a business person would do in the same situation, you'd roll up your sleeves, you'd be working 16, 17, 18, 20 hours a day, figuring out how can you possibly save your business from bankruptcy. And what I see this president do, literally phone it in. I mean, he sends his vice president to do negotiation, maybe once a week. I guess they're going to be talking today.
And again today.
It's all behind closed doors. What this president should have done is sent up a serious budget. Two months ago, he sent this thing up. It's 4¼ inches thick, 2,400 pages. All the fanfare say, this was going to be the solution to our problems. And we voted on that 2 weeks ago. It lost 0 to 97. I mean, what a stunning repudiation. I mean, that just proves it was a very unserious effort. And let's face it, we're bankrupting this nation. We need a leader here. This country hungers for leadership.
We're seeing new talk now. A lot of folks are concerned about the economic numbers we've seen over the last couple of weeks. One thing that's emerging out of these talks and other talks, a payroll tax holiday, encourage businesses to hire. Of course, though, that would eat into revenues. That would be taking right off the top line of the money that we get into the Treasury. What do you think of that? Is that something as a business person you think would work to encourage job development?
I would love to be talking tax decreases. I mean, I really would. But right now, we've got to focus on providing the structural reform for entitlement programs and just caps to discipline Washington once and for all.
Would that take us in the wrong direction then? Is that the concern?
Unfortunately, I think it would. Let's face it, part of the problem is the entitlement programs that are simply unsustainable. So we've got to provide structural reform. I don't see how
taking revenue out of those programs.
Yeah.
Again, as unfortunate as it is that we can't be talking about tax decreases to spur the economy, the fact of the matter is they use Keynesian economics. They indebted us to another $2.4 trillion in the last 3 years. Total employment's down since when that program started. It hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked. We've dug ourselves such a deep hole.
Could you envision supporting a compromise deal that would be largely very deep spending cuts, but would also include some revenue increases, not increases in any tax rates, not talking about that, but a situation where you close some loopholes, you do away with ethanol subsidies in the tax code, maybe the oil and gas subsidies, close some of those loopholes that would bring revenues up. Would you see supporting that?
We need new revenue,
yeah.
But we need to increase revenue the old-fashioned way by growing our economy. I think simplifying our tax code would be an excellent way to help grow our economy. I mean, our tax code right now is 70,000 pages. Cost of compliance is hundreds of billions of dollars. That's stunning fact. So no, I mean, to simplify the tax code, and if we could really simplify it, get away with a lot of the tax expenditures, what they call them, to actually lower rates would be the best possible way of doing it.
Let's talk a little Wisconsin politics, because it's just the political scene has been roiled up there in just an incredible couple of months. We have, though, all this talk about recall elections now against some of the state senators who are involved in this. The governor has faced a lot of fire back home. Do you think there's a backlash against how quickly and how strong those guys went in terms of doing the major reforms on unions and other things?
Well, it's certainly roiled up the body politic in Wisconsin, no doubt about it. But let's face it, Governor Walker and the new Republican legislator was faced with a $1.8 billion a year budget deficit. Right. They did what I think most voters want their elected officials to do. Go into their jobs and make the hard choices, take the tough votes. Not necessarily what's popular, but what's necessary. What I always try and do is try and compare it to what's happening in Washington here. Wisconsin's $1.8 billion. We're talking about $1.5 trillion a year deficit. It's almost 1,000 times worse. And again, we don't see leadership out of this president. He's not stepping up the plate and offering real solutions. And the way our government works here, it relies on presidential leadership. If we're going to get anything done, there's only one American out of 307 million that can sign a bill into law. and that's the President of the United States, he needs to become actively engaged.
But while we're on Wisconsin, there's talk of Russ Feingold running again. You know something about Russ Feingold campaigns. What do you think?
Well, that'll be up to Russ. I have no idea. I've heard both ways. He's for sure in, for sure not. I mean, that's what we have primaries for. That's what we have elections. Any
reason to think he would do better this time than he did last time?
I have no idea. I'm new to this thing. I'm just a guy from Oshkosh. You guys probably know better than I.
A guy from Oshkosh.
Guy from Oshkosh. Got to ask you about the big political scandal on the Hill this week. Anthony Weiner. It just seems like it gets worse by the day. What's your judgment on this? Does he have to resign at this point?
I wish he would, just to get that story off the front page so we can, again, focus on what's happening in this country. I mean, to me, there's no greater issue right now than the fiscal situation of America. It is such an urgent problem, and to have it being distracted for even 5 minutes by that type of nonsense.
Even though it's a Democrat, doesn't it give you a little bit of a smile to think, look at these guys that have to deal with this?
No, that doesn't, no. I take no pleasure in these types of stories at all. I just want them off the front page so we can actually start tackling the problems, start growing our economy, start creating jobs. That's really what we're here to do.
All right, Senator Johnson, thank you for joining us on Top Line.
Well,
appreciate it.
Thanks for asking.
Enjoyed it.